So today, let's see, we scribbled some notes. Okay. It's really beautiful that when I ask for requests, that some of the requests, key words, like one said hope, forgiveness, people often bring that word up when I'm asking for topics. But that word hope in itself is beautiful. Now, some people think of hope like, oh, I hope something will happen. That's better than nothing. But there's also a hope that means there is hope. You see the difference? One's wishing for it, one's affirming it. There is still hope. Hope for what? Hope for love, light, joy. There's hope. There's hope for prosperity. There's hope for healing. So hope would be the opposite of hopelessness. Hope would be the opposite of helplessness, right? Depression, being deflated. There's hope, but hope not the kind we wish for. I hope something will happen. Instead, there's a knowingness. There's a hope of knowingness, like yes, where it actually is an inspired word, like the word grace versus, say, forgiveness. I think we talked about that last week. But that concept of forgiveness, that there's stages of that. There's stages of external forgiveness, then internal forgiveness, and then grace. Grace, it doesn't imply that there still needs to be some forgiveness that has to take place, like that which we extend to people who have cell phones on. I'm kidding. Just shut the damn thing off, okay? And you're forgiven even then in advance, okay? But it's okay to forgive and still action and shut it off. It's like it's okay. It's true, but it's just a metaphor of everything else. You know, you can forgive your ex, but they sometimes still call. You know? And so you got to kind of, let me do that again. Wishing they didn't call, but if I'm forgiving them, that's the external forgiveness. But then they call and I still get triggered, which means there's a next level waiting. Forgiving myself for getting annoyed that they still called. See what I'm saying? External them, internal me, grace, nothing. Nothing left to forgive. But you can't just go, God, I heard this talk about grace, and I'm going to jump into that level of forgiveness. You can't. You can't when you haven't cried all the tears yet, screamed all the hurt and rage yet. You can affirm, you can aspire towards, that other level, grace. But if you're still hurting and at the foundation levels of forgiveness, let that happen too. There's a lot of trinities we can talk about in spirituality. There's 3 groups of chakras, your upper 3, lower 3, and the heart that's in the middle. So 3 regions, let's say, of chakras. And each of those, 2 of those are sets of 3. There's the Trinity of God. There's even Trinity when we talk about Christ consciousness. And I guess if we wanted to be funny, we could call this the threesomes of Christ. But, because there's so many trinities, because it's such a sacred concept. But it allows so much for us to understand things. So like people that get a little bit of a scent of spirituality, they start jumping immediately to a grace. You haven't even worked through stages of forgiveness and you want to jump to grace. Or, wow, ascension. I want that. There's 3 stages of humanness too. There's 3 stages of awakening into Christ consciousness. But my humanness is the first stage that I have to work on. My soul is the second. My spirit is the third. But I don't do nothing, and just ascend into Christ consciousness. If I want to know about dealing with the dark night, if I want to know how to break free from the past, if I want to know what grace and so on and hope are, you don't want to struggle as a human trying to figure it out. It's better to call on the presence of God, whatever level you're at, and let it illuminate where you stand. So don't just wait till the day you say, well, one day I'm just going to be the Christ, or one day I'm going to be the I am, or one day I'm going to return home to God. I can't wait for oneness. If you still have judgments about yourself, how can you know the oneness of God? If you still don't know the oneness of you, how do you know the oneness of God? If you still don't know oneness with others, how do you expect to know the oneness of God? So we have to keep calling that light down into all aspects of our being instead of waiting till someday we get there. We call the light of God. We integrate the light of God. It's an absolute mandatory peace. Peace meaning P-I-E-C-E. So there's these stages when I deal with just the human one, the human, soul, spirit. The human part of me also has three. Each of these has their own three parts, but I'll focus on this one. My human part, my human self, still has three phases of awakening. So there's three major stages of awakening into Christ. The human, the soul, and the spirit all have to be awakened into the Christ self. The human self is going to give itself up to the soul. The soul is going to give itself up to the spirit. And that's the alchemical wedding of the internal, external, higher self, lower self, and so on. The masculine, the feminine, and so on. But my human self has its own three parts. The sleeping, the awakening, and the master. Now, people that are sleeping don't need to be talking about ascension, which is, another couple levels up into God. You can't even get your human self right. So let's get this part. Let's get the human self somewhat right. How? Take yourself from being a sleeping, unconscious, ego-based human to waking up. You're not perfect, but I get it. I now know that there's an awakening I have to do. Nice. That's very nice. If you use the metaphor of somebody who's in a stupor, sleeping, or a depression, and they start going, I'm starting to feel some hope. I'm starting to feel some energy. Great. You've got to come out from the lowest of lows, where it feels lifeless or the ego's controlling. And I don't just mean down depressed. Even if you're just angry and hateful, you're still at this level, unconscious. I've heard people talking lately about, even in a small town like this, how all the added traffic that's going on has people on edge. And man, wow, welcome to Sedona. Holy, sacred Red Rocks, and people are just going nuts. God, you watch, and it's supposed to be some spiritual mecca, and people are still flipping each other off, and hey, and of course, after they flip them off, they'll go, and I hope you ascend. There's some spiritual goody-good comment you got to make to cover it up, but still, hatred, man, hatred. And it's understandable, but that's my sleeping self. So when I see that, oh God, I can't wait till I ascend someday so I don't have to be around jerks like that. Well, wait. You can't ascend while still resenting jerks like that. Oneness means oneness. I just can't wait till I'm one with God. And God's going, I don't want you. Go back and become one with them first, and then you'll have no problem walking through the gates of heaven. Figuratively, I'm not saying there's actually gates, okay? So we have this hurt, hateful, resentful self, the sleeping human. And there's not a lot of energy we should be putting into that part of us. Now, that is my wounded self, so yes, talk about it, cry, process, shadow work, or whatever you want to do. But don't make that your goal. Don't make your darkness your goal. That's my sleeping self, and it's a great way to say it. It's me when I'm not awake. It's me when I don't just mean, in terms of waking up from an actual sleep. That's me when I'm not awake spiritually. When my eye is not open to see things differently. When I'm not seeing through the eyes of love or forgiveness. So I don't want to put a lot of emphasis on becoming that. I already am that. The second stage of my human self, which is only the one of 3 levels, the second stage of the human self is I'm starting to wake up. Man, celebrate That's where gratitude really kicks in initially. That there's hope. Oh my God. I mean, I've been asleep. Even the apostles have done that. I was asleep and now I'm awake. People, I was blind, now I can see. All those kinds of statements. They all mean the same thing. Wow. I was resentful, now I get it. I was codependent, now I'm independent or interdependent. You see? I was an addict and now, wow, I get it. Beautiful. Gratitude, 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 gratitude in that stage. Very beautiful. There's still a third stage while still a human being. Mastery. My goal is to get this human being to become a master. Now, I didn't say divine yet. That's 2 levels up in the ultimate sense. Down at the fundamental level, the human level, there are 3 levels. Sub-levels, you could say. Out of 3 major levels, 3 sub-levels in each. And in that lowest level, yes, sleeping human, waking human, master. You need not put a lot of energy into the sleeping human. We lived lifetimes there. That will not help you get anywhere else in the ascension process. But there are times when you have to look at, witness, own some of those parts of yourself. That's the value of it. Even when it's showing in someone else, you know, you're driving in your purple car and you're just all blissed out in Sedona and you know, wow, you have crystals glued to all the hood and you know everything, and you have a pyramid at the top on the top of the car because you're just about to ascend. Everything's just, and you see some nutcase drive by, you know, just enraged about all the traffic. Now, when you see that nutcase, it's not like, oh, I remember being low like you. What you want to do is this is a grading curve. And that's a part of me that keeps all of us down. I know they're the one acting it out, but it's a grading curve. You know, try talking to a teacher back in school who's using a grading curve and say, well, you know, we were looking for an average of a B so that we would not have a test this week. But a few of you got Fs, and so we're going to have a test. You can't go, well, no, that's unfair. I got an A. I refuse to do the test. In the grading curve, we're a group. And in spirituality, we're a group. We're in this together. So that other person that's acting out is simply someone that's still asleep. Haven't you been asleep before? Yes. Well, I was never asleep, man. I was always an amazing being. You know, that's called amnesia. Convenient amnesia. You weren't always the wonderful, stellar person you think you are. And if you still think there's jerks in the world, you're really not that stellar anyway. Now, there are people that act like it, truly. But do you label that that's what they are permanently? And that's more of a judgment. They're that, as opposed to, I'm sad about that behavior. Forgive them, they know not what they do, means what? Forgive them, they are asleep. And yesterday I was asleep. And 6 months ago, oh my God, I was really asleep. We have those moments. And it's not, I remember when I was asleep once. It's every day a temptation. I mean, I went to a fuel pump the other day. And you know, the car, and it says, you know, do this. I'm following the instructions. And still, you have to go in and talk to the teller. I went bloody hell. I didn't really get enraged or angry, but I still, bloody hell. You know, it was like half funny and half frustrated. And that's not a moment of total awakening. It's not like I'm saying it's ultra terrible, but it's still funny to see those moments. If you know, wow, you know, seriously? I mean, picture this. Angelic beings watching over you. And they're like, beloved, holy child of God. We're so honored to be in your presence because you're one of the brave ones that came from the higher realms and entered the third dimension where everything can go wrong in just one day. And we love being in your presence. And these beings, you know, and there's Archangel Michael perhaps, and there might be Kutumi ascended masters, and maybe even a couple of decent relatives that passed on, you know, your grandmother, honey, I still love you. All of them are hanging out. And you're talking to a machine, credit card thing at a gas pump. And they're like, looking at each other like, wow. Make sure we got this on video to show them. To show them when they pass over. Because they're going to really laugh. You know, and you're like, what are you doing to a machine? You know, this animated thing, right? It will look funny. But forgive me, I know not what I do. And when you have partners and ex-partners that have been hurtful and selfish and narcissistic, forgive them, they know not what they do. Doesn't mean they didn't do it. Doesn't mean pretend they didn't do it. On the highest levels, it isn't even happening. But in the third dimensional realm, it does seem to be happening. And our job is basically twofold. Forgive them in the highest part of our being, but on the external part of our being, that's the internal, on the external part of our being, the practical decisions such as goodbye. Nothing wrong with that at all. You know, this is, yeah. I mean, like with me for the gas pump. I could have stood there and went, oh. I also could just walk inside and say, hi, the pump says I have to talk to you.
No.
Okay? I mean, it's like, just sometimes just move your feet. You know, it's like, oh, look, I'm crossing the crosswalk. And it says walk. Okay, I start walking, and I'm just centered in my love and God, whatever. When it starts, don't walk, move, run, get out of the crosswalk. Instead of, oh no, cars can't hit me because I'm in an ascended state. You will be soon. Just move, just walk a little faster. And if you don't, you're just being passive aggressive anyway, you know. So this ascension process, focus only on what's relevant of the lowest of that first realm, of the lowest of those three. All right? My hurt, my sleeping self. Then there's awakening, you know. Awakening like I'm starting to get things. When you start to wake up, what do you think happens when you wake up in the morning? Usually, you start to have insights like, I was sleeping, now I'm awake. You have insights, oh, God, listen to all the birds. You have insights, oh, it looks like it's raining, it's windy, it's beautiful, whatever. You have, in a sense, you could say epiphanies. That's just a really primitive level of what I'm talking about here. Where you're going epiphany spiritually. Oh my God, like if I had a bad dream or a good dream, but let's say I had a bad dream and I wake up, oh, thank God, it was just a dream. What do you think happens then when you wake up spiritually? Oh, it was just a dream. Here I thought that person hated me. Here I thought that person victimized me. It only happened in the dream. What dream? It's a more elaborate dream than my sleeping dreams. It seems real. It's embellished. You know, people look three-dimensional. They seem more tangible. If they kicked you, there's an actual bruise. You know, it seems very real. But spiritually speaking, it's actually still a dream. It's a convincing dream, but it's still a dream. And it's a dream in the sense that it's coming from, just like all dreams, they come from my consciousness. Not yours, mine. And we share a collective consciousness too. So my sleeping dreams as well as my waking dreams are a combination of my consciousness reflected to me and our consciousness reflected to us. So some of my waking and sleeping dreams are teaching me something and some of them are teaching us something. Either way, I'm involved in the me and the us. So I need to take responsibility and say, wow, what happened in my dream today? What a weird day. Who would have thought that so-and-so would get back in touch with me after I put restraining orders on them? You know, I thought that was going to protect me. That's a hope of protection on the outside. The greatest hopes come from, the real hopes come from what we get on the inside because that's called responsibility. I say, what can this teach me today? Right? What can this teach me? I have a drinking addiction, and I went into a bar and got tempted, and then I had a drink. What a jerk, that bartender. Okay, it wasn't the bartender. You're too evolved to blame them. No, but my friends were there, and they coaxed me. You're still talking about others. That's going to need the initial level of forgiveness called the outside. But eventually, why don't you work on you not going in the bar? Right? Forgive yourself for making such decisions or for marrying psychopaths or for still hanging out with parents that are narcissistic. At some point you go, wait a minute. What was I thinking? I think I'd like to wake up, get to that second level. And we're still only in the first of 3 major levels. You're still only in the second sub-level of that first group. And you're waking up. But that's where everything starts to change. Even though it's way down here, it's the most pivotal decision you and I can make on earth is to wake up. You may not be perfect, doesn't matter. Because once you start to wake up, perfection is just around the corner. Perfection meaning greater and greater and greater awareness and ascension. You cannot and will not ascend while in that first group of sleeping. You can't ascend while you're asleep. Because you can't ascend while you hate, while you judge, while you hurt, while you fear. That first group, think about this. Out of all the hierarchy of consciousness that I'm talking about, the human, soul, and spiritual, and each of those 3, the collective 3, each of them has 3 sub-levels. And think about this. Out of all those levels, the ego only thrives in one of them. Ego, limited world, the limited world, whether it's financial limits or romantic limits, look how prominent in health. Look how huge it is. And it's only the first level. Everything else is much better. But we live here. Waking up is a decision that takes you from 1 out of 9 levels. And that 1 seems like it's everything to everybody. Like it's all there is. Oh, God, every day it just pushes in on us and it oppresses us and it challenges us and it calls and it pulls our attention, which is why all the great mystics and yogis said, say goodbye to the body. Say goodbye to the human self. Say goodbye to the senses. They are lying to you, and they are. That doesn't mean ignore them and don't feed yourself or walk, go out for a walk. It just means don't make that your focus. Wake up. Start to wake up. So when you do, epiphanies. And this is all the ascension into Christ consciousness. Now there's these epiphanies, and God, I get why I was with another psychopath. This is a pattern of mine. What made me think when I was on the 9th one that they were going to change? Honey, I'm having insights sooner than I used to. You're a psychopath. Would you mind changing? Oh, yeah, because that happens all the time. Do you ever see articles in self-help magazines? I was a psychopath. And my partner's complaining transformed me. It just doesn't happen. But you have to say, wait a minute, this is my, 8th this, my 20th that, and start to go, this is amazing. Because I went from many of them to one person. And that's part of the waking up. You can't be asleep and irresponsible at the same time. Responsibility starts to make you have, if nothing else, epiphanies. That's what waking up means. Oh, they say the light bulb goes off. It's like that. Spiritual consciousness. It doesn't mean I'm perfect. It means I get it, and I'm now moving in that direction. Wow, I'm starting to see my role in things. I'm starting to see my patterns. I'm starting to see my addictions more. It's, and at first, it's a little bit scary and challenging because I go from others to my stuff. And the ego's going to tell you, you're better off, I'm telling you, you're better off blaming others. You start working on yourself, man, here it comes. You're going to end up with all the same, hurts and crying. Do you really want to be one of those people in a circle with a talking stick? I hate my father. And it's going to make fun of those groups. Do you really want to, come on. And you're going to end up, getting in touch with yourself and growing a 2-inch ponytail and, if you're a guy, and fire in the belly and all these things. Do you really want to go there? And it has a good argument because it's telling you the initial shift from sleeping to awakening is kind of annoying. I mean, just look at how often in the morning, do you like... No. Do you chant really to your alarm? Do you really try to resonate and do like a reverberation of the sound from the alarm? It's disruptive. So waking up is initially annoying. It's like, God, before I could just tell you, you did something to me. Now I'm looking at my patterns. That hurts. And it costs money to wake up. Now you got counseling and workshops and things. It was free when I was just stoned all the time because friends just, they just supplied the pot or whatever it was, the liquor. I could just go, oh, wait, no, I don't have any money. Hey, okay, thanks. You could just use people and stay stoned. Waking up, it's not easy financially. You don't generally go to a major, like a counselor, and pay some of their 200 and something per session things and go, I thought I already paid you. It's not going to work. So it's going to be expensive. It's going to be annoying. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be embarrassing because you look at, yourself. And now when you talk to your friends, you can't just say, yeah, I know. Every one of my husbands were jerks. Now you're like, how did I have 7? There's a point where you go, okay, fine. I have a pattern of some kind. That doesn't look good. And so the ego is going to tell you, don't go to that second level. Bad things are going to happen. Awarenesses you don't want to have. But you have to be vigilant. This is one of you that even asked about the dark night. It's called a dark night. Does that even sound attractive? Right. If you were sleeping or in meditation and the veil parted and you saw the face of God come through. Hello, beloved. Oh my God, hello. Creator of love, peace. Oh my God, hello. And it said, guess what? What? Oh, I can't wait. You're going to go into the dark night now. It's horrid. Have fun. You knock yourself out. You're not going to be like, oh, this is exciting. The dark night means you accessing your darkness. Shadows, patterns, wounds. And so really the dark night is also a catapult into higher consciousness. But it doesn't feel like that when you're strapped to a catapult. It doesn't, it's like, here I go. This is going to be great. Like it's an amusement, a park ride. This doesn't feel good, but spiritually you're going to be launched. But are you going to just stay in the catapult the rest of your life without getting launched and be in nothing but terror about what might happen? At what point do we have the courage when we're told, not only are you on a catapult, you have the knife in one hand that's going to cut the cord to launch yourself? Would you be one to go, no, I'm just going to stay afraid? Or would you go, fine, here we go, thunk, and off you go? And face what might happen. Because made in God's image, bad things won't ultimately happen. You might have to face old wounds, but there's light at the end of every one of these dark night tunnels. It's not like, I wonder if I have one of the bad tunnels where it just goes in circles. Darkness forever. It's not how it goes. You might feel like, again, you got to be kidding me, again and again, but it isn't. All that spiraling that looks like, here I go, around and around. All that spiraling is actually, when you turn it this way, you realize I'm spiraling upwards the whole time. I look like I was just spiraling like this. But when I flipped it, I started realizing I was going upward all along. Even when I was in my worst challenging stuff, it just depends on the perspective. So you're looking at my life and I just go in circles, but when I flipped it, my circles were actually spirals and they're always upwards. They can't ever be anything but upwards, but they can seem like it. And they seem like it when we're unconscious. Because when we're unconscious, we're not making conscious decisions to feel like we're going higher. Well, I've been through this before. This is definitely familiar. It'll seem that way. But you don't realize that when you spiraled around this same topic, and that's where the ego is going to convince you. I have evidence that you're not growing. You know how I know? Because you've had a bad relationship before. And it looks like, okay, look at the clock, let's call it. At 12 o'clock, bad relationships. At 3 o'clock, bad jobs. At 6 o'clock, bad health. You've been here before, every one of these. I have proof. I have video. 12, 3, 6, and so on. It has proof. But when you start to wake up, because you have epiphanies, when you wake up, you go, oh my God, the 12, the 3, it went 12 but higher. 3 but higher, 6 but higher, all the time. When it doesn't feel like I'm getting higher, it's because the ego has talked you into, convinced you into focusing on what time it is as opposed to what consciousness you're at. 12 is always 12. You know, another bad relationship. But you know what? You left this one sooner than last time. That would be progress. If you have any further evidence that you're still not growing or that you went backwards, for example, I might have been a very nice, healthy person for first 30 years of my life and then started descending into addiction. That doesn't look like progress. It's because your story's not over yet, first of all, in this lifetime. But what seems like you descended into, you're thinking of the clock of one lifetime. That descent into addiction might be a very predictable thing based on many lifetimes where you were far worse. It's just coming back as a phase in your life. I know people who are pretty nice, healthy people. Still, they picked one of the real nutcases of all nutcases on the planet to partner with. And it's like, well, where did that come from? I'm pretty healthy. I was raised well. My parents stayed together. There was no family of origin issues. There were no addiction. Why did I come out in a healthy life? And then when I was 20, why did I single out somebody that was absolutely like a serial killer? How could that have happened? Because you only know you now. That really dark incident, a dark night of the soul or a dark relation, that might be just a one period, 2 years, 20 years of this lifetime to burn off several years when it was many years. Several lifetimes ago when it was many years. So some of what you think is a descent into hell is actually a piece of something that your oven has to burn off. So those self-cleaning ovens, it's going to get it. But the self-cleaning oven that goes to like 8,000 degrees to burn off, whatever you spilled, that's called the dark night of the soul. And when you walk up to your oven and go, oh, self-cleaning, 8 trillion, 8,000, whatever degrees, to clean off all the things that have spilled. And it's like, where did it go? It's kind of amazing. But you don't usually go, wait, I got to spill something again and do this again just to see how this works. Usually you're just glad that it's done. Dark night, just be glad when it's done. Know that when you're in it, this too shall pass. Know that when you're in it, even though I go through the valley of the shadow of darkness, I need not fear because God is with me. And if God is with me, and I'm blending different Bible quotes, but if God is with me, what could be against me? I know how I feel. I know it feels dark. I know it feels treacherous. It feels, scary and so on. But I'm going to remind myself of something else. Why? Because I'm done obsessing on the darkness. Doesn't mean I'm going to ignore tears when they come up. It doesn't mean I'm going to ignore rage when it comes up. But I'm done focusing, obsessing on that level. I'm starting to wake up and I like it. Be careful not to try to jump into I'm ascended. Just work on waking up. Be nicer, forgive quicker, more immediately after an incident. Just work that I'm waking up. And then also put some attention on the third, which is mastery. After we develop we have a mastery workshop, intensive coming up, I think, in a few weeks. So you're welcome to register for that. Mastery. It means not theoretical. It means I'm going to live the Christ life, spiritually and soul level, in my human self. But mastery isn't like I'm totally awake. Mastery on the human level means not only do I get it and I've been waking up in the middle level, but I'm starting to live it. That's what mastery is about. The middle level, I'm waking up. Epiphanies, ahas, all kinds of great things are happening. But when I can take it to the next level of living it, that's mastery. And when I teach a mastery intensive, I talk about specific things to do to implement that integration process. So my goal as a human is not to hate the world and run from it, but to become a master while in the world. And then the second level after mastery on the human level, when I talked about the 3 major levels, mastery on this level, I then become a god, goddess on a soul level. And then I become I am in the ultimate level. The Christ on a human level is called a master. The Christ on a soul level is called God Goddess. And I don't mean just God Goddess. The people use those words so flippantly anymore. You know. And again, you can be in Sedona wearing your goddess gowns and flipping people off as you're running through the traffic in Sedona. That's not what I mean by God Goddess. When I talk about you and I, we are made in God's image. And when we're living the truth of God, even on a soul level, even on an ascended etheric level, we are meant to be gods and goddesses. Jesus himself said, "Ye are gods and goddesses." Okay, great. I don't feel like one. No, because you have to become a master first, and you're barely waking up. You had your first, alarm, and you started waking up. You're like, okay, one with God. It's not going to happen. Start, stretch a little. You just started waking up. Stretch a little. Feel, where are there little tight aches and joints and, stretch and feel that a little bit. And then, oh my God, I realized I had a bad dream. This is all metaphoric or literal. What if I wake up literally and had a dream and thought of somebody I was upset about or, didn't like? Got forgiveness work to do. What if it's not the literal sleeping? What if I wake up and there is somebody I'm having struggles with? Forgiveness. It's still the same answer. So I don't need to aspire to oneness with God. I got to work on my oneness with me. Any part of me that I still judge, I got to work on. Any part of you that I still judge, I've got to work on. You get to heaven and you just keep reincarnating. And people wonder why. Because they simply do a test. When you stand before the light of God, you should leave no shadow. So if you beam a light, and that's what metaphorically, that's what they do. Hi, welcome, hi. Oh, where am I? Oh, you're on the other side. Okay, great. Light, nope. All kinds of dark shadows and weird creatures are on the wall behind you. And they're like, wow, talk about multiple personality disorder. Go back to earth, work on some of those. They're all you. They're all you. See all those creatures, and your aura's got these serpents. Those are you. Go work on them. When you take responsibility, when you look at that lowest of low levels, the hurts and the pains, and you process them, and you start to wake up, then you become a master. You still will leave shadows and come back. Because you haven't gotten to the second major level yet, soul. That's where you really, which is the heart chakra metaphorically, but that's when you really start to go, there are no others. It's all a reflection on the wall of me. The light hits me, and if I still blame others, I'll leave shadows. If I still blame myself, I'll leave shadows, but they're less. When I leave no shadow, I'm home. When you stand before the light of God and can say, I am that I am. Or one of Jesus' statements, I am as God created me in A Course in Miracles, but Jesus' statement, when you see me, you see the Father. Light beams, there's no obstacle. Why? Because I have no will outside of God's. I have no beliefs outside of God's. Such as, spiritually God says you are made in my image. And we go, yeah, except. When all those except. Well, yeah, but you don't know where I've been. I've been naughty. I've done this. Things have been done to me. I'm damaged goods. I'm an addict. All of those things. They're not true. They're not real. But as long as you have them, you're going to cast shadows. So that's where forgiveness comes in. I've got to forgive everybody from the shadows that I cast onto them. And then the shadows that I have allowed them to cast onto me and the ones I've cast on myself. No darkness. No dark place. How? No judgment. No guilt. No shames. How? Forgiveness. Not by wishing they weren't there. Not by saying that I don't have any guilt. I don't have any shame. It's just denial. That just adds lifetimes. Now you have to come back just to work on denial. So just own it. Oh my God. Access and own the inner nutcase, the inner ego self that says, isn't this weird? As much as I know about love, light, and joy, I still hate people. Just own it. You're actually closer to God when you've owned what isn't God than when you pretend it's not there. I've shared this story before, but it's one of my favorite. The old Bob Newhart show. There was a guy, Mr. Carlin. Hi, Bob. Remember, he was a real deadpan kind of guy. Well, you're not as old as I am, so just bear with me. So The old original Bob Newhart show, and he's a psychiatrist or whatever. So Mr. Carlin walks in, and he's got these big stack of papers. And he says, hi, Mr. Carlin, what do you got there? Well, you told me to write the names of all the people I hated. And so Bob Newhart comes back with a really great, witty response. He's, well, why didn't you just bring the whole New York phone book? And Mr. Carlin one-ups him and says, because some are from out of town. Isn't that great? Just own it. Like, oh. Instead of hiding that stack of papers, what, in your pocket? I'm trying to ascend, but it's not working. Because you have 50 pounds of paper stuffed in your pocket. You got all this weight of hidden hurts and resentments. They're not all overt hates. Even your hurts keep you earthbound. I want to be home. Not just go home. I'm already home. So I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm ready to be home. I'm ready to remember home. So take me. No, God's going, no. You have to get it where you are. How? There it is again. Don't focus on your dark, but heal it. Focus more on your awakening. And give thanks every time you see progress. Every time you see any amount of shift and progress, give thanks because you're doing it. You're getting there. And then, remember, of course, mastery. Focus on the concepts of mastery, which I've done talks just on that, little lectures and all that. So you can watch those, the free YouTube talks on mastery or the DVDs. I think there's one just on mastery for that matter. It's 4 different talks just on mastery. You could get those or join us in the workshop. But mastery. As a human being, I'm going to get into this mastery. Mastery means that if there's an area of my life, whether it's health, finances, relationship, work, whatever it happens to be, that's weak, that's not at least like a 7 on a 0 to 10 scale, I'm going to take responsibility and work it. I'm not going to hide it, stuff it, minimize it, or blame it. I'm going to work it. As they say, the program works if you work it. So I'm going to step up. I'm going to start living this consciousness. I'm going to work on forgiving. And when I'm not perfect, I'm going to work on forgiving myself. I'm going to learn to see the lighter side of things. A little levity doesn't hurt. Recognizing, wow, what have I been thinking? Focusing on being inadequate or flawed or damaged goods. Goodness and goodness and goodness. That's waking. And third, mastery. Now I've got the human self coming together. I'm on a spiritual path. It's my dedication, my devotion. It's my priority, my continued awakening. And I will continue to awaken until there's no other human being that isn't totally going home with me, that isn't, ascending into God. I'm not going to leave human beings that are lesser than me. I'm going to keep incarnating and saying, guess what? I have an idea for you. You'll be a guide to people, whispering in their ear from the other side. Hey, listen, when I was asleep, I kind of did that. I know I'm an expert on that. Let me guide you. And you'll be a guide that works with somebody that's having your struggles, if you choose to be a guide on the other side. So it's awakening, and pretty soon we realize, oh my God, now besides the human master, you become a God goddess. And I'll close with this. Before you go home to the God self, the God goddess. I don't mean divine God. I'm talking about halfway home. Master on earth, God goddess, then divine. The God goddess, if I were summarizing it, isn't the ones that just say, I'm a God goddess. Just because you have a pendant that says I'm a goddess or a shirt, I'm a goddess, doesn't mean you're any nicer. Are you really? And here's how you can know if you're accessing any amount yet of a God goddess. If you think of a God goddess as being an archetype, like a theme, like there's the goddess of love, right? And there's gods and goddesses of love or of nature, right? You've heard of some of these. There's gods of creation. There's different types of gods, goddesses. Think about what your vibe is. What are you really into? Let's pretend you say creativity. Then you start thinking of yourself as the god or goddess of creativity. Now, just because you say it doesn't mean you're there. Do you think it, live it, speak it, feel it? When people meet you, do they go, wow, that's like the consummate artist, creative person. They should feel that from you. I'm not trying to tear you down if you're like, well, geez, I'm not anywhere close. Then you got work to do. But at the end of the day, you and I are heading to a place like I'm a teacher in a sense, you know, I'm a spiritual teacher. It's not like you meet me and go, I think he's a mechanic. No, trust me. You don't meet me and go, that dude must be a mechanic. You know, I don't, you know, something's going to tell you probably not, especially if you give me tools or something to work with something. So what I am, this mastery, Michael's all about mastery, Christ consciousness. If he's a God goddess kind of vibe, it's spiritual teacher, healer. This is his vibe. It's not like you would go, really? It's there. But what's yours? And I'm telling you that before you're done incarnating on planet Earth, you have to find yours. And when you find it, you organically become it. And it becomes like, there's no question. When people meet me, they know that I'm a goddess of nature. You can just tell the colors I wear, the decor I wear, how I walk down the street. You know, the types of clothing, fabric even. There's a vibe. You're home. But when you claim to be the god or goddess of one thing and your house, your car is a disaster area, I am a goddess of nature. And your house is a disaster area, wow. Like it's not congruent. And then just call yourself the goddess of hoarding. I'm serious, you know. Own. This doesn't look what I claim to be. This is the evidence of what I really am. Not capital R, really, but it's the evidence of what I am. No matter what I say, peace, love, joy, and look at my outside life. It's a reflection of the inside. So I look and go, God, I'm like, I'm a goddess of love, and yet all my relationships are disaster areas. My house a disaster. You can't find anything. I'm a god of success, and yet your office, feng shui, is a disaster area. Everything should be harmonious. It should be, as you see me, you see the Father. Well, as the outside, the inside. As the inside, the outside. There needs to be this thorough presence. Let's please take a few centering breaths and we'll do just a couple minute meditation and then our closing prayer. Couple of conscious decompressing exhalations. Good. We've all heard the saying, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But let's consider this, a new saying. Breathe this in for a moment. Do unto others as though they are God. Do unto others as though they are God. Do unto others as though they are God, and then you will receive unto yourself. So I will receive back what I do unto others, wish upon others, think about others. If I want to feel hope, let me be a God, goddess of hope, and bring that to others. Do unto others as though they are God. And then we will find that we too are God. Do unto others as though they are love, peace, joy, abundance, and then we too will have such. The longer the list of people you would consider to be exceptions to the rule, the more healing still has to be done. Do unto others and have no exceptions if you can. No exceptions, which includes yourself. A nice, relaxing last final breath or two in this process. Do unto myself as though I am God. And so it is. Gradually bring your awareness back to the room. Take your time with it. No exceptions. All right. Thank you. How are you feeling? Good? Good. Allow that to kind of bring some puzzle pieces together about life, about consciousness. Instead of thinking, okay, I'm just going to jump right up into oneness with God, there are stages. Generally speaking, there's human, and then soul, and then divine, spirit. And in the human stage, every one of these, there's 3 sub-levels. And in my human level, there's sleeping, waking, and mastery. Okay? Mastery doesn't mean you're perfect. You're still in the human plane. You're still doing things, but you do it differently. When you're in the middle of those and you're waking, you're getting it, you're having epiphanies, and you start to change everything. When you get to mastery, the highest of that first group, then you definitely are doing things differently. You're more creative and yet grounded. Air yet earth, water yet fire. You work on things responsibly. Everything is just taken to a whole new level of living. And humans just don't get that because humans keep doing the grind. Mastery, you're still in the grind, but you're not of the grind. Mastery, you gain more by doing less. You're guided as to what diet is right for you instead of reading everybody else's opinions. You listen to music that's right for you. You watch movies that resonate with what? What do you want to be the god or goddess of? Oh, I want to be the god of peace. Okay. And what video you're starting to put in over there? Friday the 18th probably doesn't resonate. So let's not call ourselves the God, Goddess of Peace and watch horror movies. Let's not call ourselves the God, Goddess of Peace and date horror movies. It's so commonsensical if you think about it. Let the outside be like the inside like the outside. What do you want to be here? And don't do, oneness with God on a grounded level. What do you want that oneness to look like in you today? Peace and happiness. Okay, is that decision you're making taking you in that direction? That drug, that drink, that relationship. Don't judge those things. They're just images. It's the chooser that makes the difference. So thank you. Please stand for our closing prayer. Love the vibes of our closing prayer because of the way we word it. The affirmation, like if I say, the light of God surrounds us, we respond with, we are the light of... See, it's like we're not just hoping, wishing. We're saying, not only is it here, I am that presence. And that doesn't mean I'm egoless. It means I am that presence. Anytime I act like I'm not is my ego again. See it, maybe laugh at it, but move beyond it. Soaking in gratitude and great vibes for today. The light of God surrounds us.
We are the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
We are the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
We are the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God.
Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Isn't that beautiful to feel this, right? Isn't it beautiful? So we are in divine presence. We're in holy presence, right? Namaste. We're in holy presence and acknowledging that goodness and godness in each of us. So I pray today made great sense and that you can, more importantly than hearing it, live it, apply it in your own lives, all right? Then we're closer to home. Peace be with all of you. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.